Hello there from the car. Talking about the Sony A9 Mark III, which is here in my hands, versus the A1 Mark II. The Sony A9 Mark III is a camera that I've been using. I've done, I would say, 3/4 of my season with it. The other 1/4 was with Canon R5 Mark II. I prefer the Sony A9 Mark III over the Canon R5 Mark II, as well as any of the Canon products. I think it also comes down to, at least my purchasing decision would be based on available lenses. And now with Sony also having the 28-70 f2, I feel like it's a pretty level playing field for us as wedding photographers. And I think that Sony now has the advantage with lenses like the Tamron 35-150 being available, or the Sigma 28-105 if you want a little more reach and you don't care about the f2. There are a lot of great offerings for Sony now, and I think that they absolutely do have the edge. When it comes to these two cameras, the one that I don't have right now because it's not quite out, I did get to use it in New York last week at the launch, and it was a pretty seamless experience going from, it's the same physical camera body, so it felt like I was just shooting this, but I had access to more megapixels and an auto subject detection mode. And I feel like those are most of the differences. So for me as a wedding photographer, I am going to be switching, I'll spoil it right now, I'm going to be switching to the A1 Mark II for next year. I'm going to be trading this in. And my second camera will remain as the Sony A7 Mark IV, which is an incredible camera. And honestly, if it did 4K 60 uncropped, I would probably use that as a main camera. The main reason that I jumped up to this was for that 4K 60 uncropped. I do a lot of photo and video coverage on wedding days, and my Black Friday sale is available if you also want to do photo video coverage on wedding days. It comes with a course at a big discount, and then also stacked on top of that, you get a ton of bonuses like advanced wedding photography marketing, hybrid photo video, behind the scenes wedding days, as well as a wedding filmmaking course for Canon. It's shot on the Canon R5 with the 28-70 f2. So if you might find yourself on Canon this season, that's a good course for you. If not, it's still a full behind the scenes wedding day doing photo video coverage. Next up, your first $1 million in wedding photography. This is all about laying the groundwork to make your first $1 million in your wedding photography and also hybrid video, hopefully, business. And there's only a few of those available still, so if you are interested, get in quick because they will disappear. Once they're gone, but you can also get it on the full members website for a discounted rate as well, so you get $180 off. You do want to get access to every single thing on the members website, and you get instant access to it all. Now, a few of the differences between the A9 Mark III and the A1 Mark II. One, you get it in the A9 Mark III, you get a global shutter. Global shutter means the sensor is all reading out at one time, which is nice for lower light environments, but there are still LED situations that can make it a little bit tricky. And you might notice that if you take 5 photos in a row, that some of them might be pretty bright, some might be pretty dark. You're not going to see banding across the frame, but you might see some lighter and darker images. And I specifically noticed this, here's an example in video mode. So this is what it does if you do find yourself in those weird environments. So you do still have to be somewhat aware of the shutter speed you're at when you are inside. It doesn't solve every single problem. On the A9 III, you do get silent shutter all the time, which is kind of nice, or you can turn on the MP3 that plays if you want. On the A1 Mark II, there is still a physical shutter. It's actually a really nice shutter. It feels very nice. It's very quiet also. And because the sensor readout is so fast from that camera, it's not all at one time, but it's very, very fast. It's, I think, probably the best sensor that exists in any sort of camera of this style right now. And because of that, if you do have your camera set to silent mode, you are probably still going to have a very good time with no issues. A benefit of both the cameras, if you are a video shooter, is that you get dynamic active stabilization in both the bodies, which is incredible. It makes it feel, as long as you're conscious of it, it makes your camera kind of feel like a Steadicam, and you can create some incredible footage handheld that you should not be able to create handheld. So I very much enjoy using that a lot of the time. Anytime that there's any sort of movement where I have to follow someone around, I will be using dynamic active. Otherwise, I'm usually on active. The dynamic active does give you a little bit more of a crop. It's a very reasonable crop, but active gives you less of a crop, which is more true to whatever lens you're shooting. So if you're doing hybrid photo video coverage, your lens isn't jumping between effective focal lengths anytime that you hit the record button. For me though, the comparison comes down to the fact that I do not need the 120 frames per second of this Sony A9 Mark III. I've said that many times on the channel. Even though this is the camera I'm using, I still have, as you can see, it is currently set here to single shot mode, which is how I'm going to use it at today's wedding. And it's also the way that I will have my A1 Mark II set up as well. Also, the A1 Mark II does more than enough frames per second. I forget what the math is on it, but I'll never use that many, I don't think. But the main thing that I am personally going to gain as a wedding photographer is that I'm now able to go into APS-C crop mode, that I still get everything that I need from this A9 Mark III, but I can now go into crop mode and retain a reasonable number of megapixels. I forget exactly what it is, but when I go into crop mode on this camera, it is 10 megapixels, which isn't the most useful. It's fine for documentary images, but it's not ideal. But with the A1 Mark II, I'll be able to go into crop mode at any time and get a very, very usable image. And they both come with 4K 60, no crop as well. Well, some crop because you're going to enable some of these stabilizations, but not a crazy APS-C crop or a 1.3 times crop to begin and then add stabilizations on top of that. Can't believe I left this out. So the base ISO of the Sony A9 III when you're in Cinetone is, as you can see right there, ISO 320, or if you're not in Cinetone, it's 250, which is still a pretty high base ISO. And on the A1 Mark II, it is 100. So these are my thoughts on these two cameras. I had a great time with the A1 Mark II in New York, and I am excited to get one in my hands, even though it will feel exactly the same as this because it's the same body. Also, shout out to the way that these bodies are designed. One, the shutter button, it's just in the perfect spot now. It feels very ergonomic. It's the right size for my hands. And these back two wheels, so this one is always set to ISO. This is set to shutter speed. This is set to aperture, and it's very nice to have access. I shoot everything in manual. Again, I'm doing video. And by the way, both these cameras come with the best screen that you can use as either a tilt or a fully articulating screen, whatever you want. So those are my thoughts on the two cameras. And if you're interested, get in on that hybrid special before it's gone. It comes with a ton of bonuses, or you can get all of those products as well as everything else on the members website if you sign up for the annual, which is $180 off right now if you use the link on the page in the description below.